They call me Stone. Rick Stone. Name's on the door. I'm a hard-boiled dick. And if you want to dance about it, don't expect me to lead. Something else you might want to know. I'm a cheap tab, on the account of the fact I'm dead broke. The sooner you pay me, the sooner it gets done. The job, that is. It's a busy world, see? So you got something for me or not? That's what I told the poor schlub across my desk. He was nervous and blabbing. Finally, he coughed up something worth hearing, and he asked if I knew anything about divorce law. I had him pegged from the doorway. Most unhappy husbands figured if Henry number 8 could end things, why not them? And that's where I come in. I'm a snoop for hire, but business was bad, and I was hitting the sauce a little too hard lately. Mostly, it was on account how bad I'd mucked things up with Rita. Even the bartenders were tired of hearing about her, so I'll spare you the details. You'd think I'd be over it by now. 2 years is a long time apart, but Rita wasn't no ordinary gal. I saw her at Ernie's bar. It was a cold night in a crummy dive. The last place I ever figured to find Rita's face smiling at me from across the room. Only about 10 feet separated us, but it was a million miles of 10 feet, and I had to cram a whole 5 years of memories into one measly greeting. Strong silent type, that's what I always liked about you, Rita finally said, burning the tension away. Now, I didn't have to say anything. I just had to light her cigarette. I wanted to see you. I'm scared. Scared? You? Doubtful. But her hand was shaking. I thought it was our past that had her so fidgety. Come on. What gives? It's my husband. Husband? Oh, for the love of mud. That's the last thing I wanted to hear. But once she started talking, it was like listening to an angel. When she spoke, I heard bells. But then I realized it was the sound of the garbage truck backing up. Things were late, so I walked Rita back, and then took the L back to the dump I called home. She explained that her husband was some big shot who turned millionaire overnight. Go figure. His name was Todd Waldorf, and he was some kind of blueberry juice salesman that took monopoly on the fruit. Made sense. They got grape juice, they got orange juice. Why not blueberry juice? Give the man a Nobel Prize, I said. She didn't laugh like I thought she might. Instead, she told me things were strange with Waldorf, and she wanted me to look into things for her. I couldn't afford to snoop for free, so I told her to come by the office and we'd get it done right. But she never showed up. I tried to forget about her, but seeing her face again ripped the scabs right off my heart. The next time I saw her face, it was in the papers. She was missing, and that rich husband bought a big ad trying to find her. Or pretending to try and find her. It said she went missing the very night we met, but I walked her home. My mind was buzzing now, busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. I tried to string the night back together. Everything she said, every micro-expression. But nothing was making sense. All I could remember was her talking about blueberries and how she thought something was strange about her husband. It was the only clue I had, so I went by that big old mansion and paid the husband a visit. Waldorf was a pretty welcoming fellow, and he said all the right things. He even offered me big bucks if I found Rita. Maybe it was because he was married to Rita. Maybe I just didn't like his face. But it didn't sit right taking his money. And if I had anything, it was my instincts. I left, but I didn't stay too far away. One day, I followed him all the way to his juice factory. After I snuck a tour of the place, I decided to slosh around, and I found myself back at Ernie's. Like a fruit fly in honey, a problem stuck in my mind. There wasn't a single blueberry at that factory, and I was wondering how he filled those vats to the brim with juice. Before I could figure it out, I saw something pass outside on the street. At first glance, I thought it was Rita's ghost. She was this pale blue color, and she looked lost. When she saw me, she waved. She walked to a phone booth, and not but a minute later, the bartender was handing me the phone. She was on the line, telling me she didn't want to scare me. I demanded that she start talking. Where did she go? Why was her skin blue? I had to know. I've been juiced. I don't know how else to explain it, she said, crying into the phone. I slammed down the receiver and kicked a few bucks toward the barkeep. Rita and I got in a cab, and I paid the driver to take us around the block so we could talk. Her skin was a light blue, and the first thing I wanted to know was whether it was Waldorf. I was looking for an excuse, I told her. It's bigger than that. It's his entire fortune. She was babbling, nervous, making as much sense as a screen door on a submarine. And then she got out and left without explaining where she was or how she got home. The last thing I heard from her lips was a warning. She said, "The streets will run blue with berry juice." And then she disappeared into the smog of traffic. I followed my gut back to Waldorf's mansion, and this time, I watched and waited. In the middle of the night, I saw Waldorf walk over to his greenhouse. The windows were fogged, so it was difficult to see. Suddenly, blueberry juice painted the windows from inside, and then a delivery truck was backing onto the property. I stayed out of sight until it was gone, and I moved closer to the greenhouse. The door was barely open, and when I glanced inside, I saw another pale blue woman. She looked sick, and I listened to Waldorf convince her to eat a blueberry he was calling medicine. Soon, she ate it. It wasn't long before the blueberry inflation began. Her skin color became dark blue, and she started to swell, her face first. And then she began to round out, and didn't stop till she resembled a big, fat blueberry. Just when you thought she'd stop, she didn't. She grew bigger and bigger, about to pop. And then another delivery truck came, and I saw them juice her. I gotta say, folks, I seen a heck of a lot as a beat cop, and I seen a heck of a lot as a private dick. But I hadn't never seen blueberry inflation juicing used to create the most popular drink in the country. The profit and plot was starting to make sense, and then everything went cold. I fell to my knees before I felt the sting on the back of my head. They knocked me out, and when I came to, I heard that Waldorf guy busting a gut. He was telling me what nerve I had, showing up trying to steal back his woman. I was too weak to protest, and the guy just kept on bragging about how he duped me and spilling the beans about these radioactive blueberries. He had a heck of a yarn to spin, and it started back in the Second Great War when Waldorf was just an infantryman. Germany had just surrendered, and Waldorf was ordered to clear a science facility. He came upon some kind of radioactive goo, and some goof of an excuse for a GI spilled it all over these blueberries. Well, the radiation mutated the blueberries, and they grew to the size of watermelons. When the clueless soldier took a bite, he inflated, and the only way to save his life was to squeeze the juice out of him. That's when Waldorf first figured out how to make the juice. But apparently, it wasn't until Rita broke my heart and jimmying her way into Waldorf's life that he put his ideas into action. She had a way of bringing the best fight out of you, that's for sure. Waldorf explained that the radioactive seeds and berries aren't good for mass consumption, but the juice that can be processed from those inflated by its mutation turned quite the profit. When I asked about his victims, he gave me some rap about making omelets and breaking eggs. I looked at Rita to see if she was buying any of this. She didn't say one word. Not until Waldorf left us alone. What am I to you? A fall guy. A patsy. Nothing more? She couldn't look at me. She and Waldorf were going to frame me for the missing people they were juicing and leave me to rot in prison while they lived the life of Riley. But then she said something that ran a chill up my spine. I'd rather it be him. Just then I realized she wasn't the one being used. She was the Black Widow herself. And sooner or later, we'd all play the victim in her twisted drama. Waldorf, he was just a sap like me. She was talking about him now like he was yesterday's trash. But the deal was looking mighty good for me. She was suggesting that we take off with his fortune and make like old times. It was my only shot, and so I played along. She untied my hands, and I embraced her passionately. Meanwhile, I flipped the receiver off the phone and dialed 911. From my time on the beat, I knew that emergency operators always recorded their calls. And as we were kissing, I asked where they found their blueberry victims. She told me in between kisses. Rita explained she and Waldorf posed themselves as an institution for the mentally unwell. And like the spider to the fly, they welcomed in all those who were unfortunate enough to sign themselves away. The poor fools, committing themselves to a future as a blueberry. But with a little deception, I could turn things around. I didn't feel right lying to Rita, not after all these years. But sometimes you gotta fight fire with fire. It wasn't until I saw her ugly side that I was able to say goodbye. And when I did, it was gonna be for a long time. It's a hard lesson to learn, but being a detective, it's one I have to keep returning to. Never judge a book by its cover. And so did Rita. You were never juiced, were you? That was just blue makeup, huh? I bet you never loved me. I bet you never loved anybody. What's the purpose of life? If a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? She admitted it all. And I bet you already know how things wound up. The police came after the call, and Rita's confession got her and Waldorf locked up for quite some time. And their victims? All free and deflated now. Well, guess who got his mug in the papers? And guess who's the hottest detective in town now? I reckon the sun's gotta shine once in a while. Sometimes the good guys don't wear white, so keep your wits about you, kiddos, and I'll see you in the funny papers. Do you have a mystery to solve in your own life? Tell us about it in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more Hidden Wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.